More often than not, these opportunity costs arise in the context of either buildings or land, but every once in a while it could be equipment. How about salvage uh, revenue? Your project may require purchase of some sort of equipment. Obviously, over time, these things depreciate. I'm not talking about accounting depreciation. Cars get old, right? I mean, I bought my car in February. It's brand new. I paid 27.5 for it. If I try to sell it right now, I mean, I get about 12,000 miles on it. Even with the elevated used car market, I don't think I can get more than 25. And this is for a Subaru. They hold their value quite well. If I had the same deal on a Chevy, probably the number is 20. But, these assets lose their value over time. But when the project is done, they can sell them. So should that be relevant? Peak? What do you think? I thought you wanted to say something. 'Cause I can only see top half of your head. I can only guess your intentions based on that. Exactly. I mean, whatever you get at the end of the project, that's going to be real cash. And that may or may not have an effect on taxes as well. So we're going to look at something called after tax salvage. Next class, we'll actually do a kind of a contrived big example, and we'll build some sort of template to make a lot of these calculations. I mean, even in upper level finance classes, I don't want people to memorize how to do these things. We build a template together, you understand how it works, what are the inputs that goes into it, and how do I read off the number that comes out of it, what does that mean? Those are the things that are important. For calculations, you can always hire somebody if you don't know how to do it. In the old days, before computers, have they done complicated calculations in physics and mathematics? For example, calculating the exact position of Venus, let's say, on a given day, requires a solution of a differential equation. Okay, it's not that complicated. It's Newton's basic law of planetary motion, but it requires a lot of calculations. And we're not talking about adding 2 and 5 together. We're talking about multiplying, adding 5-digit numbers, even if you're doing approximately. Or sometimes you need to calculate logarithms. Okay, we have a table for that, or we used to have a table for that. You guys probably are not old enough to remember the table of logarithms. When I first came here, we had an accounting faculty who did not allow the use of financial calculators in his class. He gave them a table of present value factors. It's basically a table of number of years and interest rates, and it calculates 1 over 1 plus r raised to the power number of years. And, somebody had to make that calculation. Do you know how they made those calculations? You can do it through a logarithm table, but there's a very interesting, side story to this. For example, Euclid was, not Euclid, I'm sorry, Euler was one of the most prolific mathematicians of 17th and 18th century. And that guy solved a lot of complicated problems. For example, there's a constant called Euler's constant, and that thing is an irrational number. And it needed to be calculated up to 12, 13 digits to be used in other stuff, which required a lot of iterative calculations. Do you know how Euler did all those calculations? He hired an idiot savant, and we call them autistic people these days, the Rain Man kind of people. These guys cannot tie their shoes, but they can multiply two 7-digit numbers in their head. So they told him, okay, here's the calculation. Give me the answer. So they were the computers. Now we don't have a need for those anymore. There is one more thing I was going to talk about. Oh, net working capital. Sometimes when a firm, net working capital is basically current assets minus current liabilities. Current assets being, cash, accounts receivable, and inventory, and among some other things. Current liabilities typically are short-term debt or accounts payable and that sort of stuff. When you launch a new product, sometimes you need to spend some money to finance the sales. That means I need to put up some inventory. I mean, unless you're Dell, that works on a just-in-time inventory system. You have to have some inventory on the shelves. You have to allow some of your clients to pay over time, as trade credit. So those are essentially investments that you need to make to support the product. And any change in net working capital is considered as short-term capital investment. And hence are relevant. Remember, if the project is not accepted, I'm not going to increase the inventory of the firm, or I'm not going to increase the accounts receivable. That's the idea. As a result of the project, firm's cash flow changes. So anything that does that is relevant. And the project ends, these amounts are returned to the firm, and hence they will be negative capital expense. Basically, if you think about it, you're gonna be you're counting time value of investment in net working capital. I'm gonna put in $10 million of more inventory, but I'm not gonna get it back for 5 years. So essentially, I need to pay for it in terms of present time value. I mean, I will get it, but not much, because the present value of what I get is going to be much less compared to what I've spent right now. Let's stop here for today. Hey, I want you to, amongst yourselves, start kind of talking about ideas, talk about when you guys, would work as a group. I will create a discussion group for each group where that would be your common platform for communication. You don't have to use it. Only group members and I will be able to see the posts, but I'm not going to look at that at all. It's just there for your, communication. And if you want to attach files, it's kind of a common depository. That's why I'm going to create it. And that's also something where you can ask me questions about your stuff because I'm going to subscribe to it, which means anytime you post something, it's going to come to me and says, okay, they posted something. I'll go look. If it's a question to me, I'll answer. You know, obviously, you can ask me questions on email, but this is an environment where everyone can see it at the same time what I respond and what the question is. All right, guys, I'll see you Wednesday then. Hopefully, my keyboard is going to be a lot better behaving because there's going to be a lot of Excel work.